Hello and
Hi.
welcome back to a new episode of Brave Podcast. Today we have Lily Bunney.
Yes.
What a great name.
Yes, we just before this had a run of you calling me Lily Hudson, which is my legal name, but I changed it partly because I was teaching, which we might talk about in a bit, and I had this moment where I was in the back of a RE class and as a TA, year 8s, and 2 of the year 8s had got their phones out and they were looking at Instagram story of the teacher at the front and laughing at it, and they were like, look what he did. And I was like, oh my god, they found him. How have they found his social media? And it really stressed me out, so I was like, I'm going to change my name on all social media so that the kids can't find me, because they knew me as like Miss Hudson and they probably knew my first name.
And you're Lily Bunney, B-U and then
N-E-Y, exactly, which is my mum's name. It's like a family name. And for ages people have been telling me to change it to Lily Bunney because it's a much more fun name.
Yeah, it's a great
name.
name.
I kind of agree.
It's a great name.
As soon as people find out, they're like, your mum's called Sarah Bunny. I think that's a good name.
Yeah.
It is.
So you're quite aware of your presence on social media? Do you work on that?
Yes. I try to not overthink it, but I definitely think maybe it's like a two-edged sword thing. This was definitely like I don't want the wrong people finding me online. But then also I think it's quite nice to feel like you can play around with how you're presenting yourself.
Definitely.
You know.
How have you been presenting yourself?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, actually. I don't answer.
Because you post a bit about your work, but you post about your personal life as well, from what I've seen.
Yeah, not loads. I kind of never know how to play it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's nice to be honest.
Yeah.
As
not
honest as you can.
scripted, maybe is
not overly scripted, but I also don't know how interesting it is for people to know what my personal life is necessarily, or like I think because
the fans want to know.
The fans want to know because I make art that I want people to find relatable.
Yeah.
I think part of being relatable is being specific.
Yeah.
Like, I watched a really interesting analysis of Taylor Swift. I'm not a massive fan of Taylor Swift, but I really respect her. And they were saying how she's really specific in what she sings about, and that's what makes it relatable.
Right.
Instead of being really generic.
Right.
When
Something
you're like,
quite universal.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like being really universal and being like really vague, people are a bit like, oh yeah, whatever. But if you're like, oh, when we met on the red sofa and we did this, and then even though, you know, maybe I've never done that, there's something about the relatability of this, like the specificity. Yeah.
Lily, what is your practice about, and what are you trying to communicate through it?
So, good question. The elevator pitch I always kind of give, which feels a bit rehearsed, but like I think it's helpful to condense it down.
Yes.
Is my work, it's very fascinated with technology, and I really like to play with the analog and the digital. I do these like maybe quite abstract pixelated paintings from a mix of like found images and then also photos I take, kind of just at a random mix. Sometimes like still some films, photos I find online, photos in my camera roll, photos my friends have taken, and I run them through a process and create these quite abstract paintings that when you photograph or like you step really far away from, they become quite clear. And I really like that interplay with maybe you see it in real life and you have no idea what's going on, and then you take a photo of it on your phone, and then you look at your phone and you can see what the image is of and how that is reflective of just how the world works in a very unremarkable way. Like it's not really, I always say it's not really a big statement I'm making. Like it's just true that people take photos of things on their phones all the time, and a lot of people see art just on their phone. And then the work itself, it's very like, a lot of the themes are like friends. I have a lot of like more like femininity kind of work where I'm quite interested in interpersonal stuff or like emotional things, and then also just the way people connect, I think, is something I find very interesting, especially through the lens of technology. I think there's a lot of space for that, and I spend a lot of time thinking about technology, and I think the aesthetics of technology is the way we see it as an aesthetic is quite static. Like, picture like the Apple store, like it's white and it's like going to heaven. And like we see technology as something that's like come down from a higher plane to be delivered to us. And I quite want people to have an experience that not directly but like indirectly challenges that by having this work that looks quite legible when compressed, and when you see it in real life it's quite textured or rough, or like you can tell it's been made by hand, because technology was made by someone.
So there's something around, you show something that what you see can be seen twice.
Yes.
And
exactly.
There's also the engagement with it, with the distance, and the looking up close and looking at it from afar, looking at it through the camera lens, looking at it in different ways.
I like to think of it as like all foreground and background, and there's like no midpoint to the paintings.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're either really up close and you're seeing pixels,
What's
or
the perfect distance?
I don't know.
5 meters?
Probably as far away as you can get.
Yeah.
Or stand through the
You need a big
lens.
room. You need a big room. It's collectors with big rooms.
Exactly. Or just they take a lot of selfies, and then you can have both of those experiences.
Yeah, as well.
But yeah, it's all kind of, I like it all foreground, background, no middle.
That makes me want to jump straight into what you do, because that's the relatability is definitely there. And I've actually told you this the first time we talked, is that I totally related to work that I had seen of you without knowing it was you. And then only later did I clock that it was, I was talking to the artist behind a work that I thought was brilliant.
Thank you.
It was the one that's called Girls Peeing on Cars.
Yes.
That you showed at Guts Gallery.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that one?
Yes, that was really maybe like a very key moment. It happened last year, so it's also quite a fresh moment. And I'd been working with my friend, Freya McLean. I don't know why I'm name dropping her. But
Definitely.
Yeah.
Freya.
I love Freya. And we were working together on we were just working together. It was quite like a nice thing to do. And we were chatting about cars and like our experience with cars.
Which is a recurring theme.
Which is a recurring theme in my work.
Practice,
and also in her work. So we were kind of like just chatting about it.
Yeah.
And we had this whole project brewing.
Okay.
And then we ended up having this Google Doc where we were writing about things that we'd done in cars. And like, this was one of the things I was like, I remember like when I came back from, I was in this specific part of my life and I like was going out and I like peed behind a car, and it was kind of an important moment for me, which is really funny. But because I was like, it was really nice to trust the people around me to like have my back, and it was kind of a real moment of like, I can really trust these people to like look after me.
And I found that incredibly relatable.
Yeah, and then people were like, this is so relatable, and I was like, perfect, okay, well I'll make some work about it. And that was kind of like an example of me being like, let's think of a really specific moment for me. I mean, for me, it was kind of it was a bittersweet memory, but like, it's nice to then open it up and then everyone can just be like, I remember, I have this picture of my friend peeing behind a car, and they show it to you and you're like, yes, thanks.
I have definitely a few in my camera.
Yeah, and then to like having that experience and then trying to like make it more abstract. Not abstract, but not be super specific and focused on myself. Starting from a very specific point and then just opening it up.
Yeah.
It's something I like to do, but it's difficult.
Yeah. You've called it, that show at Guts Gallery, you've called it a little bit of a here I am moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
I think it was, talking about how we present ourselves, I was aware that Guts have like they had quite a lot of good like connections with press, and I kind of also knew that no one really knew who I was as an artist, which was quite a nice space to be in, and I hadn't really had any big shows in London. So I was, the value of the show didn't come down to this, but I was aware that there was the possibility for the opportunity for it to be a show that was seen by people. Yeah, visibility. And I thought it would be fun to play with how I present myself within that space. And the working title of the show was Girls Peeing on Cars. That's what I was calling the show. But I wasn't going to title the show that because it felt like a not professional title for a show. And then I talked to so many people and they were like, I think you should just call it Girls Peeing on Cars. I was like, okay.
Say what it is.
Exactly. Call it what it is.
Call it what it is, yeah.
Yeah, so then I was like, well, this is kind of funny and also quite clickbaity. And I was like, I can imagine this being something that people would look at and click on because it's kind of quite tongue-in-cheek, silly, not super serious.
Yeah.
I'm taking it very seriously, and I was taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
But I understood how it would be perceived. And in the same way that like clickbait YouTube videos work, I thought it kind of had a similar feel to it, which for me is quite true to what I'm interested in, but also worked as a ploy for attention. And
that exercise of naming works, finding titles, is it a difficult one?
Yeah.
How'd you get about it?
I don't know. It's so hard. I find naming shows a little bit easier, but
the body of work.
And I think with titles, what I've come to realize is people kind of ignore them unless they really resonate with them. And that's odd. No, maybe not odd. You don't have to be super hung up on it if there's not a good title. You can just call it whatever. But I do think it's nice to always give people access points into what you're thinking.
Yeah.
I see it as
it's like notes.
Yeah, exactly. I always, as an artist, and maybe this is coming from like more of like a teaching background and also just other things. I want to be as like generous as I can with the viewer without being prescriptive. So you want to like let them understand what you're thinking about without telling them so much about what it is that they don't have room for themselves. So I think titles are a quite nice way of gesturing to like, this is what I'm thinking about, this is what I care about. Read into that what you will, but it's a hard line to walk that I haven't figured out yet, and that's okay.
We jumped straight in there.
Yeah.
Can we just take a moment to look back at where it started? Your art practice, your relationship to art. Where do you think it began? Where do we start from the beginning?
Yes. Ever since I was a girl, I wanted to move to London and be an artist.
And here we are in London, talking here today in London.
Yeah, I did have quite a funny, like, sometimes I meet new people and I'm like, yeah, and I'll be like, I'm an artist. And they're like, oh, how long have you wanted to be that? And I'm like, just kind of forever. I never really thought of anything else that I wanted to do, which is really lovely. But yeah, always wanted to be an artist, was quite creative, was also very into like math. We were talking about this, very into like maths and science and like academic subjects. So it wasn't like I was super wedded to it when I was like a young girl. But I think in my heart of hearts, it was what I like really either cared about or like found the easiest.
Yeah. Then you came to London to do your studies.
Yes.
You actually went abroad. You started in Coventry, right?
Yeah, I did my foundation in Coventry, which is, I was telling you, a very interesting town that I don't want to say it doesn't have culture, it does have culture. It's a very specific town, very specific city, I should say.
For the fact that it was close to the factory of...
Yeah, the Jaguar Land Rover factory. So like we had the automotive design BA students like sharing the basement of the flooding. The building used to flood, like the building we were in.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was kind of dramatic, but it wasn't that bad. And we would get lectures about cars, which was fun. Yeah, so I was at Coventry. I did my foundation there, as I've already said. Met some amazing people that I'm still friends with now. And then I went and studied in Central St Martin's in fine art in London. Yeah.
Going back to this interest that you have in maths and arts, I really like the story of how, well, can you tell the story of how when you were teaching maths, you were working on a gridded piece of paper?
Yes. So I did my BA, graduated during the pandemic. So I was like...
You're one of those.
Yeah.
How was your graduation ceremony?
I didn't go to my graduation ceremony. Didn't get a degree show.
From CSM?
From CSM. Actually didn't I didn't actually cry about not having the degree show, to be honest. I don't think I was in the right mind to make the best work, given what was happening in the world. It wasn't,
yeah.
Yeah. So I think it would have not presented me in the, like, I don't think it would have been my best work, and that's fine.
Do you think it was almost like an opportunity, because you would have been maybe defined by that end of year show that you would have done?
Yeah, exactly. So I haven't been burdened with that, like, this is my big show that I've made and I've invested all this time and money in too. But yeah, so I graduated and then I was like, I need to get a job. And the art world was kind of not open. And I also didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went into teaching because I've always kind of really enjoyed the idea of teaching. And I ended up working at an alternative provision school. So a school for people that can't engage with mainstream education, kind of like a pupil referral unit but it wasn't a pupil referral unit.
Okay.
Which is very, like, if you work in education, people go, oh, you worked at a PRU, and I'm like, no, not a PRU. But yeah, it was for kids that couldn't engage in mainstream education. A lot of people, especially after COVID, really dropped off from the school. And so I taught everything, but I really enjoyed teaching maths and art and science, but especially maths. Yeah. And I taught a couple of people GCSE maths, which was kind of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were spanning from younger to
it was mainly
GCSE
like
level.
year 7 to year 11,
Okay.
I'd say. I didn't really teach any younger age. And it wasn't like higher maths, it was kind of like the foundation maths paper, which is a category in GCSEs. Yeah, and so I'd like carry maths exercise paper books around with me because we didn't work from a classroom. We went to like the local library of the kids and they'd come, or like sometimes we'd go to their houses. So we kind of went to the students, and that was like our unique selling point as a school. So I just had loads of these maths exercise books on me at all times for teaching purposes. And I started using one as a sketchbook, kind of influenced by this book I was reading called Zeros and Ones, or Ones and Zeros, I Get It Flipped, by Sadie Plant, talking about like the history of computing. And I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Yeah, so I kind of started working on the gridded paper as a cross between, there was like a moment in the history of computing when computers were being invented, when the guy that invented them, Lord Babbage, took inspiration from the jacquard loom, which was like a way of weaving more complicated textiles more like mechanically. So they used punch cards to program the lace or the jacquard, and then they stole that punch card, they were influenced by that punch card system when they programmed computers. So then I really liked the form of the punch cards, and that was kind of and I had all this maths exercise book, so I was like, oh great, I'm going to start just colouring in the maths exercise stuff.
Lily, how did you go from the maths notebooks to the painting?
It's really recent, and it was partly, it's kind of like, it's a formal thing, and it's also a limitation of development that I think I was going to run into with paper. Like, paper is very fragile. It was kind of hard to finish in a way that I was happy with. Like, I tried all these different finishing techniques, and I wasn't settled on anything. I think the paper gives it this really interesting quality that I like, and also I find interesting because it's got such a nice story to it. But it meant that it was harder to do things like shipping. It was more fragile. It was harder to layer. It was harder to like make edits. There was only so much like color options. So really it was like a way of just making it a bit more developed, was moving to canvas. It was like a very like material, pragmatic, like I want to push this further, and I don't think I can push it that much further if I don't at some point put this not away forever, but like slightly to the side. Okay. I think there's still space for the works on paper. I see it as like I'll do both at the same time.
Because you've touched on many mediums, right?
Yes.
And you came to choosing painting now. You define yourself as a painter.
Yeah.
How did you go to choose that one?
I'm going to be so honest. I think part of it was just that was what I was doing when I decided that I needed to stop changing mediums every 2 years. Like, I think
timing.
It was honestly just timing. It was like the right thing, right time. No, it was a bit more than that.
Yeah.
I would say like I definitely have. Well, I do have ADHD, as a lot of artists I think do, or they're like dyslexic or whatever. So I like was in this habit of just every couple of years being like, I'm gonna do something different, and I just would be like, I'm done with this medium now. Time for a new medium. Like I did wood carving. I like grew things with mushrooms for a bit. I did puppetry. I used to crochet. I did writing. I did stuff on Blender, like SketchUp. I used to do physical computing, so where you make animatronics.
Wow.
I did all of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And
did you find that there was a snobbery around the format of painting?
Yes, there was.
Too traditional and
exactly.
classic. Yeah.
And like, when I kind of looked down on it a bit, I think, if I'm so honest. I think it's also when you're in art school, it's really easy to see painting as like, oh, that's what people do when they want to make money.
Right. And
then you're like, you grow up. I don't want to say you grow up. You leave art school, you're not making stuff full time anymore because you've got to have a job. Mm-hmm. And I think in a way you go back to what you enjoyed doing before you were at art school.
Yep.
Which I did paint, you know, as a lot of people did.
Yeah.
That's what I did when I was a young person.
Who taught you how to paint?
My mum.
Your mum?
Yeah, my mum.
Did she paint herself?
Yeah, she's a good painter. Yeah, she's a very good painter.
Amazing.
Like she's like a more classic oil painter. So she's like she'll do like the base layer in like burnt sienna and raw umber and then glazes on top, which is like the traditional painting way. So that's what she taught me to do. And then I didn't do that. No, I don't do that.
You take it and then you leave it there. You put it on the side. So school was learning all these, exploring different mediums, and then you left it for a bit, came back to it, chose painting. Well, just to relate back to the maths notebooks. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, in your painting, and I'm thinking again at Girls Peeing on Cars, it feels quite pixelated.
Yes. That's
sort of the reference again with the squared layer or squared paper. How do you work that out, the pixelation?
Yeah, so I started doing pixelation, as I said, because of this book, and I have always been really into art and science, and I was also a crocheter. I knew how to crochet and knit, which I think I've already mentioned, and I know what a crochet pattern looks like. So there's the initial drawings that were also just what a crochet pattern looks like. Mm-hmm. So I initially learned to generate images like that by Googling, how do I turn my photo into a crochet pattern? And then I found and then there are all these, there's a website for it. And then there was also like blog posts from like, maybe 10, 15 years ago on someone's blog about how to like run your family photo through Photoshop and make it into a knit pattern. And then that's the process that I use to run photographs through. And then I've obviously edited it over time.
Okay.
But it's in essence, that's where I got it from.
So it's a photo gone through a system that then gives you a reference.
Yes.
That then you put on the canvas.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So a bunch of filters, basically.
And what sizes are you working on? In that instance.
Originally, or
for the Girls Who Pee on Cars, for example.
That was bigger. So the issue I had, because I've come to it in a specific way, a part of the process was limiting the colour palette, because that's what, if you were knitting something, you wouldn't have like 200 different shades of paint, you'd have like 10.
Okay.
And that's also quite true to the jacquard loom. So I think the jacquard loom has a maximum of 6 or 8 colours. Okay. So I kind of wanted to keep quite a hard limit on how many colours I was using, because of where it came from. So that means when you're trying to run the images through this process, you have an issue of them becoming really illegible, because it's just like you're using such a limited color palette.
Yeah.
And like I also run them through like other filters, so they're a bit more like color halftone is what it's called, so that the colors aren't all immediate.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. The blending.
So that when you photograph it, it makes the in between colors. Which is all to say, big. It's harder to make them smaller. Like bigger is easier in terms of legibility. So you're like,
so size comes in due to the subject matter and the technique actually that you're using.
So you're always kind of, or not you, I'm always kind of playing with how much resolution I want and versus how big it is. Like there are some images I'd love to make, but it's like, I don't want to do a 5 meter by 6 meter painting, and the only scale it's good at is this scale. And like, can I crop it? Like, what else can I do? So the size has been limited by that. But then as I've got better, well, not better, but like as I've done it more, you get more of an understanding of what works well at what scale, and it becomes a lot more intuitive. And so I'm a lot better at being like, that will work, that will work, that will work. Yeah. And if I'm, for example, like working on a show now, I might decide I want to do 5 75 by 100 centimeters paintings, and I can go, okay, and now I'm going to think about what I think would work for that, and I'm going to start looking and trying to, and then I'll process a bunch of photos and I'll wait to find the ones that work.
You're talking about a show that you're working on now. Let's talk about where you're at.
Yeah.
Where are you at on your practice today?
At the moment, well, I'm actually having a month off, which is really nice.
Great.
Yeah.
A month of July off.
Yeah,
Summer holidays.
Yes. Because I feel like
on the art side.
On the art side, I still have a job. I was in Berlin, which was amazing, and before that I was getting ready for a project in Margate, and before that I'd done the residency, and then before that it was the show at Guts, so it's kind of like very like
back to back. Yeah.
And I am quite like focused creative in that if I've got a painting in the go in the studio, I don't do that good of a job at thinking about other things because I just want to finish the painting. Which is good because it means I can hit deadlines if you're like a bit obsessive, but it's also good to recognize that sometimes you need a break from it. Yeah. So I'm just at the moment like reading, thinking about the work I want to make next in a very abstract sense. Like I have ideas of like I need to find some more photos, or like trying to think about what topics I want to do. Yeah. I'm meeting with my friend Freya, who I did the Girls Being on Cars show, and our other friend who helped with the project before the Girls Being on Cars show. We're going to do like another group project together, kind of returning to the project we did before that project, which I think would be really interesting. And that's going to be much more of like a holistic. I don't like, as in I don't have to make a painting for it because it's like me and my friends hanging out. So we're like, I can be a bit more funny with it.
Do you rely? Let's go back on the word funny. But do you rely a lot on your group? Do you have like a community of creators around you?
Yes.
How did you find them in London?
Well, one of them is my friend from Coventry. Okay. And we moved to London together.
To become artists in London.
Become artists in London, yeah.
Fulfill your dreams.
Exactly. He went to Goldsmiths and I went to CSM. Great. And then together we got the best of the two colleges. That's amazing. Well, That's not cool. Really, but there was lots of people. CSM was so big. There's loads of people I didn't know. And then I've got my friends from uni, who are all artists, but like none of them are really painters. Like none of my friends are really painters. Okay. Well, none of my really good friends are painters. Okay. But we're all artists, so it's really nice. Yeah, I kind of just have a very nice group of friends who are all creative. And then for painting specific people, over the last year, I've been making a real effort to like meet painters because there are some questions that you just want to talk to a painter about.
Like what are the things that you touch on?
They're all kind of really boring. Like me and my friend are brainstorming ways I can make my paintings faster because they take so long to make. And so it's like, oh, is there a way I can speed this process up that's kind of interesting and not like phoning it in? Yeah. You don't want to cheat your way through the speed. No? Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to cheat your way through, but also is there a way it can help develop the work to think about the process and not just be like, well, this is how I make it, so this is how I make it. Did you come to
to an answer?
No, I mean, so the last thing, sorry,
You
this is really boring.
The
last thing, we're thinking about is blocking out colours more. So like I work with like off a white background, and so it's where there's times where I can paint in below the grid blocks of colours that are the dominant colour of that part of the painting, and then when I'm adding the colour on top, I don't have to add that square in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you identify where there's going to be layering.
Yeah.
And then you do, like, for example, beige, and then on top of that, you're going to add the brown rather than doing the brown, beige, brown.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't had a chance to test that out yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's what we were trying. Well, first I was trying like big blocks of colour, and I didn't like how it looked.
And how do you feel how would you define like the vibe of the emerging art scene in London is?
Ooh, it's really... That's such a good question. I find it kind of difficult, but also really nice at the same time.
Okay.
Like, I think it's nuanced. I think I'm new to trying to be more commercial as an artist. And so I don't know if this is just because I'm new to it, but I find that really interesting. We were saying before we got on, it's interesting to have this extra dimension of assessment from all sides of, is your work selling? Like, is your work good? Is it selling? And
yes,
that is odd. And I have some people that I talk to very frankly about sales, and that's really nice. But there's also lots of people that I don't feel comfortable having frank conversations with about that, and that's really interesting. And I think
why not?
I think I worry about being judged.
Yeah.
And I think there's this anxiety of like, oh, well, what if I'm not selling and everyone else is selling? Or like, oh, I think I'm doing well, and what if I'm not doing that well? And almost, I think, feeling like that's what measures you as being a successful artist, is the sales figures. And then there's also the reality of, if you are selling well, you have more time to devote to the work. So I think that can also be quite difficult. If you, like, I find myself toying between being like, oh, I want people to know that I have a part-time job, because I feel like they'd be more generous. And I think there's part of me that's like, they'll be more generous in their assessment of me. But then it's like, why? Where's that coming from? Actually, it's fine. Like, no one's judging you. Also, you like the work you're doing, so like, you know, why do I have to defend myself?
I often like to think of creativity as a combination between space, so the studio space, time to produce, and inspiration that's needed to create. So you're actually in a bit of an inspiration phase at the moment.
Yeah, it's really nice.
How do you, and you have this studio space you were mentioning in North London, how do you commit that time to working on your art practice, considering that you have a job on the side? Sorry, how do you juggle the both?
So the way I've done it personally is this is maybe quite a business approach. I see it as like, you have your fixed outgoings and then your fixed incoming. I don't know what the money you make.
Okay, yeah.
But I see it as, if my fixed outgoings are as low as they can be without it compromising too much on other things, that means that I don't have to be making as much money every month, and I can just afford to spend more time making. So for me, that looks like finding really cheap rent in London, and like sacrificing other things for cheap rent. Like, I'm very lucky, I've got a nice house now, and I had a very nice house before, but for the last like year and a half I was living in like a really tiny room. Like, it was like a single room. Like, you couldn't fit a double bed in there, or you could probably fit a double bed in there, and that would be literally it. It'd be like you open the door, double bed. Oh, wow. Wall. And I slept on a bunk bed because that was the best way of storing things. So I had this single person's bunk bed that I bought off eBay, and the packaging was like military boy themed, like for your boy that likes the military. This is their bed that they're gonna have in their room. And I was like, wow, I'm 27. Ooh. And I'd like lie in bed like, oh, I don't know if I want to be in a bunk bed right now. But that was a kind of sacrifice that I was like, actually this is kind of weird, and I don't know if I'm enjoying sleeping in a bunk bed in a tiny box. but it means my rent is cheap, and that means that I can work 3 days a week and actually live comfortably, and I can have 3 days in the studio.
So you can commit that time.
So I can commit that time.
Yeah.
And that's obviously really like, I'm sure there's loads of people out there that are like, if I could get cheap rent, I'd do that. And I'm very lucky to have found it.
Yeah.
But that's how I've kind of approached it.
But there's having that time to it, and then there's committing to the discipline of going and actually working. And I can imagine that there are days where inspiration isn't there. There are days where, you know, you might have an artist, a block, or how do you approach your relationship with the studio and creation?
I'm really lucky because the other reason I like kind of do this work is I find it really easy to do if I have no energy, because I find it quite cathartic. And actually I started doing this process partly because I was interested in it, but also partly I was quite depressed at the time, and I was really like, I don't have the energy to do any sustained thinking. But actually planning a piece of work out and then spending 3 months executing on a plan is really attainable, because I don't have to think during certain points in the process. So you can kind of set things up and then like let it go. And that works for me, and just like, I don't really need it now because I'm very like mentally
stable.
Very, very mentally stable.
Great.
But it still has that robustness to it, which was really important for me. And
is that why you're touching on topics that are quite fun? Just going back to a word that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think partly. I think I also am someone. I think there's something really interesting in it. I don't know. Yeah, like I have this internal tension where it's like I think everyone wants to feel like they're making kind of like serious, important work, but I don't think that's very easy. And I also think there's this skill to being able to communicate quite complicated, maybe more serious topics. Maybe there was an acknowledgement at some point of like, I maybe need to gain some skills before I can tell a really complicated narrative. Yeah, but I think there was also a little bit of that, like wanting to make fun work. Lighthearted.
Get a giggle out of your audience.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, like, I do believe you can find important things in that. Absolutely. Maybe I don't want to sound. It's hard because you don't want to be like, my work's actually really important, but because it's not. But
no, I agree.
There's things in there that I think are important about having fun.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Though it's fine line, because I don't think decadence for the sake of decadence is necessarily that interesting either.
So we talked about where you're at the moment, and let's look at the development of where you want to go. You talk about technology and trying to explore that, and we've mentioned social media, sort of YouTube, which is a way in which you've self-educated in terms of arts.
Yes.
Is that one of the topics you want to continue exploring?
Yeah.
And
yes,
yes, it's a yes.
Next question.
And the next question, back to that, is around the idea of commenting on the current moment. How do you go about that?
So, I believe that maybe the process I've used so far, and maybe I will reassess it at one point, but I am not reassessing it currently. I'm just kind of doing it. Is I think you can spend a lot of time researching and like reading books, and I spend a lot of time researching, listening to podcasts, reading books about topics I find interesting, and then when I make work, I kind of put all that thinking aside and I just go like, let's find what I'm interested in and make some work that looks nice. And I trust that everything I've been thinking about and reading is gonna manifest in some way at some point, and I'll be able to look at it and go, oh, I understand how this is linked to what I've been learning about. So I approach it as, I know I'm very interested in technology, I know I'm very interested in the hyper contemporary. I'm reading a really interesting book called Against Platforms, which is talking about social media platforms and how they are successful at stepping in when institutions institutions fail. So like something I've been really fascinated with recently, maybe this will show up in work and maybe it won't, is this subreddit, if you people know Reddit.
Yes.
That had a bit of a moment because it was in a documentary and posted on some meme pages called My Boyfriend is AI.
Okay.
And they're very nice people. I think they get a bit harassed and I feel really bad for them. But I like was stalking through the subreddit and it was very interesting to see why people would have AI boyfriends like made with ChatGPT, and quite a few people mentioned trigger warning, escaping domestic violence. And you see that and it's easy to be like, haha, like these people have AI boyfriends, but you realize actually it's a symptom of something else failing, like a point of like, why do people not have support anymore to get out of like these really bad situations they're in? Exactly. Yeah. And people look at how platforms step in and they're like, oh, you don't have any friends because maybe you're lonely because maybe we've closed all the social clubs and maybe like we've eroded the common space and everything's kind of private now. Why don't we sell you some AI friends? And it's like how platforms are able to really succinctly fill in that gap, but then also continuously erode trust in those institutions at the same time.
Sure.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yep.
And I don't know if how do I make art about it? I don't know. But like, and then I reapproached looking at, I spend a lot of time on TikTok. Yeah. But like, what does it mean to make art about social media and like these spaces? And then you have to like hold it in your heart or like be very interested in being aware of it, but not worrying so much about being prescriptive in that. Yeah. Like if you kind of understand, or if I know that I spend time thinking about why people are doing the things they're doing online, and I trust that hopefully I can find a way of extracting that through narrative, but it's kind of hard to know how to do it. But
then your work, is that even going to go on social media itself?
So well, it's sort of exactly. And I think I'm not like a
content creator in that way.
That also, I don't think it's black and white. I don't think it's like I hate social media. Like I think you can always have quite a nuanced take on things. And I think that's kind of healthier and maybe more interesting than just being like, I reject this. Yeah. And I also think sometimes it's nice to engage in something to critique it. Yeah. Which is like obviously a fine line, but like I think it's really easy to say turn your nose up at painting as being commercial and then never bother trying to paint. Yeah. And or never wanting to sell your work, and then you never figure out actually how to have a nuanced understanding of the art market. Yeah. Whereas if you do it and you kind of think about it and you reflect on it and you have those experiences, you come away with a much more rounded ability to like engage with it.
Do you? So these are very contemporary topics, right? You had mentioned to me that you like addressing them because they're of the moment, and sometimes you're in a bit of a conflict between the time that it takes you to produce and the topic that can be so fleeting because it's so now and contemporary, because I find it very courageous to actually tackle on something that could be just a phase. Is that something you're intentional about, only addressing things that are very of the moment, even though it could be irrelevant in some time?
I think I haven't figured out how I feel about that. Right. I feel like I like to have a little bit of that in there. I think that it's fun to think about the speed at which culture is made and to have a kind of art practice which is so time consuming and to like pit those two things against each other. Sure. And to say like, oh yeah, I'm gonna paint this pop culture moment and it's gonna be irrelevant in 5 months, and like what does that mean? And I like that. I am a fan of Charlie XCX and I've been a fan of her for a while, just like her music, but she did that.
In case she's listening.
In case she's listening, reach out. And she's been doing that thing with Brat where she's
Yes,
like, oh, I'm interested in overstaying my welcome.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of really, like, I was like, yeah, I get you, Charlie. I think a lot of people are like, oh, whatever. I was like, right, no, I see what she means.
What does she mean?
Well, I think it's like you have this moment, you're like, oh, Brat Summer. And then it's like, okay, and now it's done. Moving, and now you move on to the next thing. And if someone's staying around being like, no, but I want to keep doing Brat Summer.
Yeah.
It's kind of cringy. It's embarrassing. Like, there's a lot of friction there. And it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
To see what that friction is. I don't know how interesting it is. I worry that it's not the most interesting thing. So I'm kind of also a bit like, I find it a bit interesting, maybe not so interesting that it's all I want to make work about.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy that. And I think if you're making work that relates to onlineness and is quite contemporary, maybe you do just have to reckon with trend cycles. Like Labubu, massive. They're massive right now. Are they going to be big in a year's time? Maybe not.
Yeah. And
I also think like that, not to get too deep about it or political, but I think that does reflect broader trends. Like I think we have a lot of politics at the moment, which is like, I hear it's like referred to as smash and grab politics, where it's like you come in really hard and fast, you make a lot of waves, and then you have no staying power. So like UKIP is a great example of a very bad, and I don't like them, as I imagine a lot of people don't, coming in, disrupting things, fucking off, having no staying power. And then you have the more like long-term things. But I think it's interesting. Like I think these trend cycles of like things coming up and then leaving quite quickly it doesn't just happen in online trends. So it's quite fun to think about what that means visually, because I think it is showing up in other places, and what visuals have staying power and what visuals are momentary.
And as I listen to you, Lily, I'm wondering, do you have people to bounce off these ideas with? Because there's a lot of ideas that are going on. You were talking about you know what I mean? Like it's every day though, and when you're being so current, and especially online, it's like all over the place. You have your friends that you talk to. Are there mentors that you gathered over the years?
I don't really have any mentors. I have a therapist, and my therapist thinks I should get a mentor. And I'm like, it's harder than that. I think I think you're correct in that I have a lot of ideas, and I'm lucky because I've just got a lot of people that are like, well, you've got to focus now, come on. And I'm quite good at being like, okay, I've got all these ideas, now it's time to like chuck almost all of them away and just pick one and stick with it for a bit.
As long as you know how you think and how you operate, then you can go about
exactly. It is hard. It's not hard, but it's very nice, but sometimes it's a bit like, oh, there's so much going on. Also because I'm in like a research phase, I'm like, everything's interesting. And then I try to almost hone in on what people are resonating with and what people like, and then like build on that, which is maybe quite like a user focused process.
What a fun phase to be in. That's so great. And as we wrap up, there's a question that I like to ask. Lily, can you tell me what creativity means to you?
Yes. It's hard. I think I am, because of the lifestyle I live and the lead and the friends I have, I always don't see creativity. Like it's very commonplace. And it's in a way quite unremarkable, but I think that's very privileged or like really lovely that I'm at that point. And if I kind of dig a bit deeper than just being like, whatever, like I'm just creative, it's just there. I think creativity is this almost very personal thing that you always have with you. This sounds so like cheesy and very like
I'm
very
totally
earnest, but I'm just gonna go for it.
Yes.
I think you can, like I've spent periods of time living abroad, which is like really lucky, but also quite lonely. And in those moments you really are like, oh, what do I always like carry with me? And I think creativity is one of those things that like you always have, or like I feel like I will always have.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad of that, and I hope other people will have that as well, because I think it would really enrich their lives. And it's almost like the best friend you could ever have, which again is so cheesy, but it's literally what it's like. Like, I think if someone was to come along and be like, you can never be an artist ever again, like, and magically took that away from me, there would still be other outlets for creativity, and I know it would happen. Like, I know if I had to work a 9 to 5, or like I didn't have time to be an artist and I wasn't showing, like, it would come out in other ways.
Yeah.
So it's like a very stable, constant thing that you always have with you. And I don't think there's many things in life that are like a stable thing that you always have with you, that's very in your control, but kind of almost separate from you.
Yeah.
That's what I think creativity is.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.